Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to our channel, Digital Future AI School. Kindly subscribe our channel, like and share it with friends. This is the episode 10 and chapter 10 of book AI, Your Smartest Partner in Life and Work, written by Mr. Zahir Ahmad Mir. And with that, welcome back to another deep dive. We are shifting gears today in a really crucial way, moving past some of the foundational ideas of large language models.
We are. For the last, 2 or 3 years, the big measure of AI's power has been how well it responds to us, right?
Exactly. You ask it to summarize a meeting or, write some boilerplate code, and it gives you this brilliant answer. It's been our super smart assistant.
But that whole era of reactive AI, and this is really the core of Chapter 10 in AI, your smartest partner in life and work, that was just a training period. That was the thinking phase.
So what's the new phase?
The new phase is the exponential step. We're now diving into an AI that is no longer content to just sit in a chat box and think.
Right.
It now has the ability to act. We're witnessing the rise of autonomous AI agents.
It's the digital workforce.
The digital workforce. These are systems that can execute complex, multi-step tasks all on their own, continuously.
So our mission today is pretty straightforward. We're going to define what an AI agent actually is, and we're going to unpack the engine behind it. I mean, how does it actually do things like browse the web or debug software?
And then we'll get into the really mind-boggling stuff, what they're capable of right now, today, across fields like law, coding, business.
And most importantly, we want to give you a framework for how you can actually start harnessing this power. We're moving toward a world where entire workflows, start to finish, just operate on their own.
Right. Before we really jump in, I want you, the listener, to just hold one thought in your mind.
Okay.
What is the single most complicated multi-step task that you handle right now? The thing that requires you to do research, log into multiple different sites, pull together data, format it, send it out.
The task you dread every week?
That exact one. Hold that in your head. Because by the end of this deep dive, you'll see that the digital worker capable of taking that entire burden off your plate, it's not a theory anymore. It is operational today.
Okay, let's start there then. Let's unpack this core idea of an AI agent. Because when we say agent, I think a lot of people still immediately picture a chatbot or maybe a smarter search engine.
And that's the first hurdle we need to clear. This is so much more than that. We're talking about a system that has genuine agency, real intent in the digital world. That's why the term digital worker is so accurate.
Because it's operational, it's not passive.
Exactly. It moves beyond passive analysis. A typical LLM like ChatGPT, it just waits for your next prompt. An agent, once you give it a goal, operates on its own initiative to achieve it.
And that agency, as the book lays out, is really defined by 5 critical pillars. You need all 5 for it to be a true agent.
That's right. It's a structural definition. If you're missing even one, you don't really have an autonomous agent. You just have a very powerful but ultimately reactive tool.
So what are the 5? Let's walk through them.
Okay, number 1, the agent has to be able to perceive its digital environment.
Perceive, so not just read text.
Not just read text. If it's doing market research, this means it has to intelligently read and understand the structure of a web page. It has to parse the HTML, see the links, the buttons, the forms. It has to process the whole environment, not just the words inside it.
Okay, so it sees the world it's in, and that perception, I assume, informs the next step.
It has to. That brings us to pillar number 2, the ability to decide what actions to take. This is the strategy part. It looks at its goal, looks at where it is now, and it plans the most logical sequence of steps to get from A to B.
So it's not just reacting, it's actually planning a route.
Precisely. And that plan leads directly into pillar 3, which is execute. This is where it gets tangible. This is the agent actually interacting with the world.
This is the doing part.
This is the doing. It means using a browser tool to literally click a button. It means writing and running a piece of Python code to do a calculation. It means calling an API to talk to another piece of software. It's taking real, measurable actions.
But just taking an action is blind, right? I mean, how does it know if what it did actually worked?
You've hit on pillar number 4. And this is what makes it smart, not just automated. It has to observe the results. After every single action, it pauses and it asks, did that work? Did the page load? Did the code throw an error?
It's a feedback loop.
It's an immediate feedback loop. And that completes the cycle with the 5th and final pillar, learn and improve. Based on that observation, success or failure, the agent adjusts its strategy on the fly.
So if a login fails, it doesn't just stop.
No, it doesn't stop. It replans. It thinks, okay, that didn't work. Let's try the forgot password link, or let me adjust the parameters of that API call. This constant dynamic self-correction is what separates a true agent from just a simple script.
So it's perceive, decide, execute, observe, and learn. And when you put all five of those together, that's where you get this massive scope of capability.
That's where you get the digital staff member. They can browse the whole web, not just search it. They fill out complex forms, they write and run real code, they complete these long, complicated workflows that involve multiple tools, all without a human holding their hand at every step.
You're really talking about consolidating multiple human roles into one digital thing. It has the research skills of an analyst, the admin skills of an assistant, the data skills of a data scientist.
And even so, the creative skills of a junior designer.
Yeah.
All in one seamless flow. That fundamentally changes how you think about allocating work and effort in any team.
This distinction between an agent and what we think of as traditional AI, it feels critical. For anyone who's been using ChatGPT for the last couple of years, this jump might seem subtle, but it sounds like a complete paradigm shift.
It is. Let's be really clear about it. Traditional AI, especially those first few waves of LLMs, were fundamentally thinkers. Their job was to analyze.
You gave them a prompt, they gave you an answer. The interaction was confined to the chat box.
Exactly. They were brilliant, but they were desk-bound assistants. AI agents are executors. The difference isn't just about being smarter, it's about action integration. They take the thought from the LLM and they connect it to continuous real-world digital action.
So they don't just tell you the 10 steps to do a competitive analysis.
They do the 10 steps, they navigate the websites, they use the APIs, they execute the commands, and they keep going until the final report is sitting in your inbox.
But hold on, some of the more advanced LLMs could remember context over a long conversation. You could guide them through multiple steps. Where's the bright line between that and real agency?
That's a fantastic question because the line is very clear. A multi-turn conversation is still reactive. The model only does the next step when you give it the next prompt.
Ah, so you're still the one driving.
You are still driving. An agent is proactive. Once you give it the high-level mission, say, build me a 3-page website for our new product, it takes over.
Right.
It generates its own internal prompts, its own commands, executes them, observes the results, and keeps going until the website is built. The human steps away after the initial instruction.
That continuous internal drive, that's the hallmark of agency.
That's it. And you can see how the value proposition completely shifts. Thinking is great for strategy, but action is what produces results. Agents are the bridge that turns abstract intelligence into a concrete outcome.
Okay, so that framework makes sense. We know what an agent is now. But here's the part that I find technically fascinating. At its core, it's still powered by a large language model, which is fundamentally a text generator. How does a text generator suddenly learn how to click a button or write code that actually runs? We need to pop the hood and look at the engine.
Right. And we can think of this engine as having 5 core components that all work together in a continuous loop.
Let's start at the top, the brain of the operation.
The brain is the understanding module. And yes, that is powered by an LLM, like a GPT or a Claude model. But its job here is very specific.
It's not just about writing a nice paragraph.
Not at all. Its job is to take your messy human instruction, which might be vague or full of implied context, and translate it into a crystal clear, unambiguous mission statement for the rest of the system.
So if I say, figure out if we should launch a new product, the LLM's job is to deconstruct that.
Exactly. The understanding module interprets figure out as a series of tasks. Conduct market research, analyze competitors, perform a SWOT analysis, project potential revenue. It turns that vague goal into an actionable internal brief that the whole system can work from.
Okay, so the mission is understood. But that's a huge mission. You have to break it down.
And that's the job of the second component, planning. You can think of this as the strategist. It's often called a reasoning module. And honestly, this is where a lot of the magic happens.
This is where it takes that big mission and turns it into a step-by-step checklist.
A dynamic checklist, yes. It has to figure out the dependencies. It has to realize, I can't generate the final report until I've first collected all the data. It creates a logical, sequential plan.
For our more technical listeners, is this where techniques like chain of thought come into play?
This is exactly where they come in. The planning module uses advanced frameworks like chain of thought, CNDT, where it literally talks itself through the logic before acting, or even more powerfully for agents, it uses REACT, which stands for reasoning and acting.
And what's the difference there?
REACT is a tighter loop. It interweaves the reasoning and the action. So the agent's internal monologue looks like thought. I need to find a competitor's price. The best tool for that is the browser. Action. Use browser tool to search for competitor X pricing. Observation. The search returned a 404 error. Thought. Okay, that direct approach failed. I need a new plan. I will now search for their latest investor report instead, as pricing might be mentioned there.
Wow, so it's not just following a rigid plan, it's constantly replanning based on real-time feedback.
That's the key. That internal self-correcting logic is what makes it robust. It's designed to handle the fact that the digital world is messy and things don't always work on the first try.
All right, so it has a plan. It knows what action to take next. Now it needs to actually do it. That brings us to the tools.
The tools are the agent's hands and feet. They are the interfaces that let it break out of the world of text and perform real actions in the digital world.
What kind of tools are we talking about?
The most common one is a browser tool that lets it navigate the web, click things, and fill in forms, just like a human. But crucially, it also uses APIs, application programming interfaces.
And that lets it talk directly to other software.
Yes, it can talk directly to your Salesforce account or a project management tool or an internal database. It doesn't need to go through the visual front end. It can interact at the data level.
And then there's a big one, which you mentioned earlier, the code execution environment.
This is a game changer. It means the agent can write a piece of code, say, in Python, and then run it in a secure little sandbox to see what happens. It can use code to perform complex calculations, to manage files, to query databases. This is how an agent can genuinely build a website or analyze a massive dataset in ways an LLM alone never could.
So the LLM thinks of the command in text, and then a tool calling mechanism translates that text into an actual click or an API call.
That's the engineering bridge right there. The LLM outputs a structured command, maybe a JSON object, that says, use the browser tool and click the element with ID submit button. That's how thought becomes action.
Okay, action taken. But we already established it needs to know if the action was successful. That's the observation module, the QA manager.
The QA manager, exactly. Every single action gets evaluated. The agent is constantly asking itself, did the API call return a 200 OK status or a 403 forbidden error? Did I actually manage to extract the data point from that web page, or did I just get a bunch of garbled text?
It's basically performing a little unit test on every single step it takes.
It is, and that's what gives it resilience. Because when an observation comes back as a failure, it sends that information back up to the planning module. The agent doesn't just crash. The planner says, okay, plan A failed, let's immediately switch to plan B.
Which brings us to the final component, which has to be memory. For any of this to work on a long, complex task, it has to remember what it's done.
It absolutely does. And this is a crucial point because LLMs have a finite context window. They can only remember so much at once.
They can forget the beginning of a long conversation.
Right. So an agent needs a dedicated memory component, often an external database, to store the entire task history. It logs what's been done, what's still pending, which approaches failed, and what key pieces of information it's already found.
So if you have an agent working on a 3-day research project and the system crashes on day 2, it doesn't have to start from scratch.
It doesn't. The memory module holds all the successful work. When it reboots, it just picks up right where it left off. That combination of long-term persistent memory and the short-term context for immediate decisions is what allows these systems to tackle tasks of a complexity and duration that would just be impossible for a standard chatbot.
That is an incredible architecture. The interplay between those 5 components, it really paints a picture of a truly functional system. So let's move from that blueprint to reality, from the how to the what. What are these agents actually achieving today, right now?
Okay, let's start with the general capabilities that cut across almost every industry. The first and most obvious one is research and data extraction.
And again, we have to stress this is so much more than a Google search.
So much more. An agent can conduct a full-scale reconnaissance mission. You tell it a topic, and it will go out and visit dozens, maybe hundreds of websites. It will navigate through them, extract the specific pieces of text or data you need, and pull it all together.
And it synthesizes it, right? It's not just a data dump.
No, that's the key. It can compare findings from different sources. It can spot contradictions, and then it structures the output for you. You could give it a command like, find the quarterly revenue for our top 10 competitors for the last 2 years, and put it into an Excel spreadsheet with a column for the source URL.
A task that would take a junior analyst days of tedious work.
And the agent does it in a few hours, and the output is a clean, usable file ready for you to analyze.
Okay, moving on to business automation. This feels like a huge area replacing a lot of administrative work.
It's becoming the engine for the modern back office. Think about drafting sales proposals. An agent can pull data from your CRM about the client, combine it with your product catalog, and draft a customized proposal in minutes.
What about things like email and scheduling?
Absolutely. You can manage complex email workflows, handling routine inquiries automatically, flagging urgent messages for a human, even scheduling follow-up meetings by interacting with calendar APIs. It can build and manage an entire sales funnel, from researching leads to drafting the email sequences that nurture them.
And because it can interact with websites, it becomes this perfect digital assistant for all those annoying portal tasks.
And the portal tasks, yes.
Yeah.
All those things that frustrate staff logging into a supplier's portal with a secure password, navigating through 5 terrible menus to upload an invoice, filling out a long government compliance form. An agent can do all of that, 24/7, without ever getting frustrated or forgetting a step.
And then there's the creative side. Creative production. This is more than just write me a blog post.
It's about automating the whole pipeline. You give the agent a creative brief. We're launching a new product, run a social media campaign on Instagram and LinkedIn. The agent then goes to work.
What does it do?
It can generate the images or short videos for the campaign. It writes the copy, but it adapts it for each platform. Short and punchy with hashtags for Instagram, more professional and detailed for LinkedIn. It could even schedule the post to go live at the optimal time based on past engagement data.
So the human's role shifts from being a producer of content to being the strategic director and the final quality check.
That's it exactly. You provide the core message and the final sign-off.
Right.
The agent does all the legwork.
Okay, those are the general capabilities. Now let's get into what you called the extreme end of the spectrum, the things that really show off what these agents can do, starting with software development.
This is, for me, the ultimate test of agency, because writing code requires such strict logic and the ability to self-correct.
And agents can do more than just write snippets of code.
They can write entire functional code bases from a high-level description. But the truly amazing part is the iteration. It doesn't just write the code. It then deploys that code into a test environment, runs it, and looks for bugs.
And if it finds a bug?
If it finds a bug, the observation module flogs the error. The planning module analyzes the error message to figure out what went wrong. And then the agent literally goes back, rewrites the faulty section of code, and tries again.
You've just collapsed the roles of developer, QA tester, and debugger into one autonomous loop.
Precisely. A task that might have taken a team of junior developers a week, like building a small internal dashboard or integrating a new payment API, can now be done, tested, and deployed by an agent in an afternoon. The speed is just transformative.
Let's use that example from the source material to really crystallize this for the listener. The complex multi-step workflow of creating a competitive analysis report. This seems to tie everything together.
It's the perfect example. So imagine you give the agent a single high-level mission. Create a full competitive analysis of our top 5 competitors, including their pricing, key features, and market share. Generate a summary report with a comparative chart and email it to the executive team.
A human team would need a researcher, an analyst, a graphic designer, and an admin to do that. How does the agent approach it?
It breaks it down. Step 1, research. It uses the browser tool to identify who the top 5 competitors even are. Step 2, data extraction. It visits each of their websites and systematically pulls out the pricing info, the feature lists, and any public data on market share. Step 3, analysis. Using its core LLM brain, it synthesizes all that data. It writes a detailed, multi-page comparison, identifying strengths and weaknesses. Step 4, creative generation. It recognizes the request for a chart, so it uses a data visualization tool, or its code interpreter, to generate a clean, professional-looking bar chart comparing the competitors.
So it's already used 3 or 4 different tools.
At least. Then, step 5, formatting. It takes the written analysis and the chart and compiles them into a single, well-formatted PDF report. And finally, step 6, distribution. It drafts a concise summary email, attaches the PDF, and sends it to the stakeholder list using an email API.
And all of that, from a single sentence instruction, happens without any further human intervention.
That is the new reality of digital work.
Let's ground this in a few more real-world sectors. The book mentions a few where this is already having a massive impact. Let's start with legal workflows.
The legal field is built on precedent, which means reviewing mountains of old documents. It's a perfect task for an agent. You can tell it to research a specific legal theory for an upcoming case.
And it goes to work.
It dives into legal databases, searches through thousands of past judgments, and extracts only the specific citations that are relevant to your case and your jurisdiction. It can even go a step further and draft preliminary arguments, summarizing the key points from the precedents it found.
That's work that would take a junior lawyer weeks.
And an agent produces a solid first draft overnight. It frees up the lawyer to focus purely on strategy.
What about in academic research?
Very similar application. The biggest hurdle for any academic project is the literature review. An agent can be tasked to collect, say, every paper published on a specific topic in the last 10 years. It then extracts the abstracts, the methodologies, and the key findings from all of them.
And synthesizes it.
It synthesizes it into a comprehensive review that shows the researcher the entire landscape of their field, highlights trends, and even points out potential gaps in the existing research. It accelerates the start of any research project enormously.
Finally, let's touch on government and policy. This is about making decisions based on huge volumes of information.
Imagine you're a policymaker trying to draft a new regulation on, say, data privacy. You can task an agent to scan the existing legal frameworks of 50 other countries.
Wow.
The agent identifies the best practices from around the world, flags potential conflicts with your own country's laws, and generates a set of concise briefing notes comparing the different policy options. It ensures that critical decisions are made with the most complete global context possible.
The potential here is it's huge, but we have to be balanced. Let's talk about the trade-offs. What are the concrete benefits? And then, just as importantly, where does the human still need to step in? What are the limitations?
Right, let's lay out the upside first. The source material really boils it down to about 6 key benefits that are transforming how work gets done.
The first one has to be speed. It's the most obvious. Tasks that took days or weeks now take minutes or hours.
Absolutely. The second is scale. A human team can only do so much. An agent can process 1 million documents just as easily as it can process 10. The ability to handle massive workloads without a drop in performance is a huge advantage.
And that leads into the next two, which are consistency and accuracy. A human gets tired, distracted. An agent doesn't.
Right. The quality of the millionth task is identical to the first. It follows the instructions with perfect fidelity every single time, which is something no human can claim.
And then there's the economic side of it, cost effectiveness and reliability.
They're directly linked. You reduce costs by automating high-volume work, and you gain reliability because the agent doesn't call in sick or get burned out. It's a predictable 24/7 resource.
So speed, scale, consistency, accuracy, cost, and reliability. That is a powerful combination. But now for the reality check, they are not perfect.
They're not perfect. We have to be very clear about this. For all their power, agents are brilliant, but they are absolutely not flawless. And this is where human oversight becomes non-negotiable.
So where do they fall down? What are the biggest friction points?
The number one limitation is dealing with ambiguity. Agents are literal. They need precise instructions. If you give them a vague or poorly defined goal, they will execute it literally, and you might get a result that is technically correct, but completely misses your actual intent.
They don't have that human common sense to ask, are you sure this is what you meant?
They don't. Not yet. The second major issue is what we can call digital roadblocks. We've all dealt with a horribly designed website where you can't find anything.
Or a CAPTCHA.
Or a CAPTCHA, exactly. Agents can get tripped up by poorly designed user interfaces. They might click the wrong thing. And they generally cannot solve CAPTCHAs because those are specifically designed to stop automated systems. So if your workflow depends on a system like that, you're going to need a human in the loop.
And finally, there's the connection to the real world, or lack thereof, the physical gap.
Right. Agents live in the digital world. They can't do anything about a real-world problem. If the data they're supposed to analyze is in a corrupted file or a spreadsheet has messy, incorrect formatting, they're likely to fail because they can't adapt to that kind of unexpected, messy input.
So the verdict is clear. They are incredibly skilled executors, but their success depends entirely on the quality of the human instruction and the stability of the digital environment they're working in.
Trust, but verify. That has to be the mantra.
So if human oversight is so critical, that means we, as users, need to develop a new skill set. It's not about doing the task anymore. It's about learning how to effectively instruct, delegate, and monitor these agents.
That's it. Success in this new era is all about the quality of your delegation.
The book lays out a really practical 6-step framework for this. This is the actionable guide for anyone listening who wants to start using these tools effectively. Let's walk through it.
Okay, step 1. Define the task clearly. And this means being ruthless with ambiguity. Focus on the final outcome. Don't just say, research our competitors.
Be specific.
Be incredibly specific. Say, Generate a 10-page report on our top 3 competitors in the European market, focusing specifically on their Q3 marketing spend and social media engagement rates. Specificity is everything.
Okay, that makes sense. Step 2, specify input and output.
Right. Tell the agent exactly what it's starting with. A list of URLs, a folder in Google Drive, a specific database, and tell it exactly what the final product should look like.
So the output must be a Google Slides presentation with at least 12 slides and a concluding summary slide.
Perfect. Defining those boundaries prevents the agent from going off on a tangent and ensures the final result is actually usable for you.
Step 3, break into steps. But wait, doesn't the agent's planning module do this automatically?
It does, but you can help it. By providing a high-level workflow, first do X, then do Y, then do Z, you give it a map. It dramatically streamlines its own planning process and makes it more reliable, especially for really complex tasks.
Got it. So you're giving it a strategic outline. Step 4, choose tools.
Don't make the agent guess which tool is best. If the task clearly requires getting information from websites, tell it. Use the browser tool. If it needs to do heavy math, tell it. Use the code interpreter. Pointing it to the right tool from the start saves a lot of time and prevents errors.
Then we get to the human-in-the-loop part. Step 5, monitor the workflow.
This is so important. Don't just fire and forget, especially on a big project. Check in. Look at the agent's progress logs. If you see it getting stuck in a loop or going down a rabbit hole, you can step in and give it a course correction.
It's an active partnership, not just delegation.
It's collaborative monitoring. And that leads to the final, absolutely non-negotiable step. Step 6, review the final result.
Trust, but verify.
Always. Because they are not infallible, you have to be the final quality check. Is the data it extracted correct? Does the code it wrote have any security flaws? You must verify the accuracy of the output before you bet your job or your business on it.
That is a fantastic, practical framework. So as we look forward, where is this technology heading? What's the future trajectory?
Well, we're really just at the beginning. The evolutionary goals are pretty clear. The reasoning capabilities will get deeper. They'll handle ambiguity much better. But the big one, for me, is long-term memory.
Memory that persists beyond a single task.
Exactly. Imagine an agent that works with you for months and learns your preferences. It learns how you like your reports formatted, who you always CC on certain emails, the specific constraints of your projects. It develops a form of institutional knowledge about you and your work.
And there's also the idea of agents working together as a team.
Yes, multi-agent collaboration. This is the next huge leap. You won't just deploy one agent, you'll deploy a team of specialized agents. A research agent will pass its findings to an analysis agent, who then sends a summary to a creative agent to design a presentation.
You're describing an entire autonomous digital department.
That's where this is headed. In the near term, we're going to see businesses running functions like market research, accounts payable, and Tier 1 customer support almost entirely with collaborative agents. The pace of scientific discovery will skyrocket as agents handle the data analysis and literature reviews. It's a massive acceleration across the board.
And as we close out, we have to touch on the underlying principle here. The why. Is this all just about replacing jobs?
The sources, and I think the reality of the technology, point in the opposite direction. Agents are force multipliers. They don't replace your strategic judgment or your creativity. They expand your capacity to execute.
They handle the how so you can focus on the what and the why.
Perfectly said. When you successfully delegate the complex, tedious execution to an agent, your own productivity skyrockets, and your time is freed up to focus on the things only a human can do. Building relationships, managing complex risks, coming up with the next big idea.
It gives an individual the operational capacity of what used to be a large team, a kind of superhuman capability.
It does. Mastering the art of delegating to agents is really about mastering your own potential and expanding your capacity to focus on what truly matters.
That brings us to the end of this deep dive. We've really charted the shift from an AI that answers to a much more powerful AI that acts. It feels like knowledge work and task execution are finally being fully automated.
And the most important takeaway for everyone listening has to be this.
Right.
AI agents are not some far-off future technology. They are the present reality of digital work. The systems we've described today are operational right now, and they are already reshaping entire industries.
So we'll leave you with one final provocative thought to take with you. If these agents can now perform multi-step analysis, complex coding, and strategic comparisons, What is the single highest leverage, most time-consuming task on your plate right now that you absolutely must master releasing to a digital worker in the next 6 months? Because your ability to answer that question and to delegate that task effectively will define your success in this new autonomous era.